Today we're in the Washington, D.C. area, and we're going to be visiting two locations that are tied to one of the most tragic days in American history. Our first stop is going to be the Pentagon Memorial, built on the site where Flight 77 struck the Pentagon on September 11th, 2001. Then we'll head right back here over to Arlington National Cemetery to visit the grave site where many of the Pentagon victims were laid to rest. Now let me make something clear. I'm not going to spend this video talking about what happened on September 11th. Most of us already know that story. What I do want to do is visit the locations that still preserve their memory today. So let's go take a look. One thing that immediately stands out here is how quiet it feels. You're standing beside one of the busiest buildings in the entire world, yet this memorial almost feels separated from everything around it. Every bench here represents a victim, each one pointing either toward the Pentagon or toward the sky, depending on where that person was when they lost their life. But once you understand what you're looking at, it becomes incredibly personal. At 9:37 on that morning, Flight 77 struck the western side of the Pentagon, and the impact was only, split seconds, but the impact it had here will for sure last forever. As we walk through here, I really want you to keep in mind the 184 people remembered here were not just victims of this dark historical event. They were co-workers walking into the Pentagon that morning. They were passengers traveling across the country on a plane. They were members of the military serving their country. Not only that, but so many were parents, spouses, friends, sons, daughters. It just goes on and on. One of the most powerful things about this memorial is that it doesn't just remember where someone died. It remembers who they were. Standing here today, it's my brain can't even comprehend the chaos that went on right here on September 11th, right here on these grounds, in that building directly behind me. Every memorial bench here represents a person, not just a statistic, not just a number, but a real person. And when you walk through this space, you start to realize that the true story of September 11th isn't just about what happened that day. It's about the people who were there and the people who were unfortunately left behind. Memorials like this, they always tell us and show us where tragedy happened. But for many of the victims, it didn't end right here. Their ending is actually across the street from here at Arlington National Cemetery. Arlington National Cemetery is filled with so many stories. There's buried here are presidents, generals, astronauts, so many famous people. But hidden quietly in the back is a grave site and a marker that's connected directly to September 11th. As we make our way closer to the gravesite, and when you see it, I want you to think about this for a second. These victims are remembered together because in the aftermath of that day, their families faced something incredibly difficult. Not having the ability to bring their loved ones home individually. So today, this grave stands as a reminder that even when someone cannot be identified by name, their life still mattered and their story still matters today. Following the attack, many victims could not be individually identified. The remains that couldn't be separated were brought here to Arlington National Cemetery. They were buried together in a single gravesite. There was co-workers, friends, military personnel, even civilians. People whose lives intersected for only a few moments on September 11th, now resting together permanently. This is the part of the story that often gets overlooked. The headlines focus on the attack, the buildings, the destruction. But eventually, every tragedy becomes personal. Every number becomes a name. Every name becomes a family. And for some of those families, this became the place that they can come and visit. Being here right now, it's hard not to think about how close these two locations are. Literally just across the street is the Pentagon, where these people lost their lives, and on this side of the street, here's their final resting place today. If you are in this area and come to Arlington National Cemetery, I want to pay your respects to the victims here. Just know it is a good walk. It's in the back of the cemetery. It's very easy to find if you put it into Google Maps, puts a Pentagon 9/11 Memorial. But when I was walking back here and I finally made it, I'm like, it's kind of sad that these folks are all the way in the back. Because, a lot of people come here, first place they go to is JFK, the Kennedy graves up front. There's Robert Todd Lincoln, there's President Taft. But these folks are all the way in the back, and obviously not everybody can make it all the way back here. So I'm glad to be here today and pay our respects to them. Today wasn't about reliving September 11th. It was about visiting two places that preserve its memory. One marks where lives were lost, the other marks where many of those lives came to rest. And standing at both locations, you realize how important places like this really are. Not because they tell us how people died, but because they make sure they're never forgotten.